Hello and welcome to Guy Logic. My name is Temko and today we're taking a look at Bombshell. Now what is Bombshell really about? Bombshell, you play as a character called Shelly. And she bombs things. Thus her nickname Bombshell. I know it's not very original and the game is really cheesy, but it's part of its charm, I feel. Now the game is a top-down monster hunting, killing, gathering game, much in the vein of Diablo, but without all the cool loot of Diablo. The game plays in a modern sci-fi setting with aliens invading Earth, and you are Bombshell sent to rescue the president who is taken to a different dimension by a supervillain. If this sounds cheesy, it is because it is really cheesy, and the game revels in it. So, before we head out into the gameplay, let's head with the options menu. As always, if you do not want to see me talk about options for the next 10 or so minutes, you can press the annotation I've put somewhere on screen to skip ahead to gameplay. So, let's dive into the option settings. Options start with audio, visual advanced. They have two screens for this for some reason, as well as controls. Audio settings are master volume, music volume, FX volume, and voice volume, all pretty well and dandy. The only downside to this is as these are not 0 to 100 in a stepless system, they are steps of 10, so they could have just put in 1 to 10 instead of 1 to 100, which is weird. But nonetheless, you have these options. Subtitles are available. They're in the visual side of things. There we go. Subtitles, you can turn these on or off. I would have them on just to reread for comic effect what they're all saying. The game has full screen, windowed, and borderless, which is really good. All the resolution options under the sun, as well as several graphics presets. The actual graphics settings are in the advanced window, but you do have texture filtering and anti-aliasing. And they have added quite a few versions of anti-aliasing here. SMAA, MLAA, FXAA, all really decent and really good. I like they've included that. Other than that, DirectX 9 or 11, whichever you have or prefer. VSync, subtitles, English, Danish, and Korean as languages, which is a weird combination. I applaud them for that, but it's a really weird combination. I've never seen this specific combination in a video game. Other than that, you have camera peak and gamma settings. All in all, a basic options menu. If you head to advanced, you will see the other option menus. The actual option menu. The options you're really interested in. Shadow quality, character detail, world texture detail, detail levels, and particle quality. All of these are on the maximum, absolute maximum settings. And even with all of these, the game doesn't actually look spectacular. It performs quite well. I have over 60 FPS in basically all situations, except one notable place where it drops to 20 for some reason, which is probably a bug, and I hope they fix that. But everything else is above 60 and often above 100 FPS, so that's pretty decent. But the game doesn't exactly look amazing for it. They have dynamic shadows, light environments, lens flares, light shift, motion blur, depth of field, ambient occlusion, and distortion, which is all pretty much what you'd expect. Film grain, which I've turned off because film grain is horrible. Decals, which is awesome. Bloom, which should not exist in any way or form. And blood spatters. I'm not sure why you would turn this off in a game specifically designed around killing stuff. But then again, you can. And frame rate smoothing, which I'm not sure what it does, but because I'm recording, I've turned this off. Because generally, those kind of things really mess with the recording. And in the bottom right, you have NVIDIA GameWorks. Now, I absolutely hate NVIDIA GameWorks because, one, it's anti-consumer. Because they have not only screwed over the competition in AMD, they have also screwed over all customers of their own that do not have a 960 or above card, which is absolutely bonkers. So NVIDIA, screw you on this specific GameWorks. But again, developers, I applaud them for implementing this feature, which not a lot of people have into their game, which is really good. And that's HBAO plus and as well as NVIDIA Destruction, which is a GPU based environment destruction. And there's not a lot of environment destruction in the game, but there are certain rocks you can blow up and all of that good stuff. And other than that, you can turn on CPU based destruction because that is what normal humans had up until this point. Head back and head into controls. The game has full keyboard and mouse support as it should with rebindable keys. The default settings are pretty decent. I've seen no reason whatsoever to rebind any of these. But you can, if you so desire. You can also change the mouse sensitivity, which again I would never do, but you can, so it is there. And you can also switch to a gamepad if you prefer. You do have to do this manually. It does not auto-detect if you're using your gamepad, which is a bit weird. But nonetheless, they have included gamepad support and gamepad bindings. Now, I don't use a gamepad. I have no idea how well the game plays with the gamepad, or whether it's more or less enjoyable with the gamepad compared to a mouse and keyboard, but it is there, so maybe some other YouTube reviewer will have the answer for you there. As always, never use one source for all your purchasing decisions, always use multiple. That's what we're here for. That is the options. Now, other than that, you can have multiple characters, and you can switch between characters as you prefer. Each character has you start with a new game, and that's really that. Now, in the options menu, not the options menu, the character menu, you can switch between characters as you like, and we can continue where I last saved off. Now, because I last saved off at the boss fight, I'm not going to continue there. I'm gonna switch to my second character and start a new game for you guys, and skip all the cutscenes so you have none of that. So, let's get started, shall we? So, gameplay. Let's start off straight off the bat here with me telling you that I have not enjoyed my experience with Bombshell much in any way. It is very clear that the game is a reskin of a Duke Nukem title where they have cobbled together what they could to avoid getting sued for copying the Duke Nukem IP, which they no longer have a license to. Now, let's dive into the game and I'll explain the parts and bits I feel the game should have done better. Hint, it's most of them. First things first, normal difficulty or hard difficulty. You can only unlock hard once you complete the game. I hate when games do this. Don't do this. So we're going in normal difficulty. And I'm gonna skip the cutscenes. The cutscenes are pretty good. They're well designed, well made. You can view them yourself. The problem I have with the cutscenes, as well as most of the voice acting in the game, is that the main character, Shelly, is a bland, one-dimensional entity, which would have been fine if she was a sidekick of Duke Nukem. She's not. She is the main protagonist, and I expect a bit more out of a character like that. Now we're gonna start off here in Washington DC, and this is the only time they're gonna use Earth as a backdrop. All the other levels are going to be different locations in space. I'll show some of them in a bit. Let me start off by saying that the game looks pretty well. But there are 4 things that piss me off no end. First things first. The camera is atrocious. The angles which you fight are often, if not always, with enemies out of sight. Let's say this enemy spawns here. It's over here. I can see it on the minimap. It's attacking me. It's attacking me from out of view. This happens continuously through the entire damn game. It is not good. And if I had a way to realign the camera, maybe toggle it down a little bit. But no, I don't. It's locked isometric view, like it was trying to be Diablo. But it's not Diablo. It's way, way worse than that. Animation-wise, the animations are pretty decent. They're pretty good. They are what they're supposed to do. And the gunplay initially is pretty satisfying, as well as the executions being pretty nice. There you go. Kaboom, explode the head. Thankfully, this is what you'll be doing most of the game, so they better damn well be nice. Less thankfully is that they turn repetitive halfway through the first level. There's about 5 or 6 different executions. They are randomized, and by the time you are by the first boss, you have probably seen all of them at least 20 or 30 times. Up to the point where I just stopped doing them, even though they give a XP bonus. Combat-wise, the enemies come in hordes, and they have the AI capacity of a brick. Often bugging out, and even more than that, just not noticing when they're getting shot at. You unlock a couple of weapons, but you don't actually have loot in the sense that you can loot weapons. So, while the game is trying to reenact Diablo, it's doing so without anything that makes Diablo good. There's no visual customization, there is no weapon customization, there is no random weapon drops or pickups. There really isn't anything of the kind. The only customization you have is your character customization, which I will show you in a few seconds. The game, it is clearly Duke Nukem. I will show you exactly what I mean. Let me show you this turret action first. There is 2 or 3 locations when they do this turret action. In fact, it happens 3 times exactly so far in the game. And it's about just as fun as the actual shooting is. That will tell you how much the shooting is fun. Not a lot. You pick up ammo everywhere, you pick up medkits everywhere. You don't really need medkits, the game is not hard. And because you're not allowed to unlock hard mode until you finish the game, it's not hard for the entire damn game. General Holloway, this is definitely not the same dude you had in Duke Nukem. Definitely, totally not. Really, it's not.
Your daughter. It's time to...
I'm joking, it obviously is. So they reskinned a bunch of things, and if you look back and you saw the screenshots for this new Nukem game they were planning, you could see this exact screenshot with slightly different coloring and no rain, but a happy, grassy, sunny feeling. Exactly like this with the same dude here. So they've reskinned quite a bit. Now, normally I wouldn't mind that so much if it wasn't that they reskinned it with Duke in mind. They reskinned the game exactly how Duke would have been. So Shelly is really taking over Duke's role here. And it's not really good because Shelly has the personality of a wet piece of cardboard. Now, the game, like Diablo, forces you into corridors for some of the time, followed by letting you explore and roam free in various locations and areas, however you deem fit. Bombshell doesn't. Bombshell's maps are corridors linked with platforms, linked with corridors, linked with platforms that are theoretically open, so you can run through all of them, and I'll show you exactly what it is later on in the video as we progress through the first level. But the problem with them is that they're so bland and boring you'd rather not. So normally I finish up levels from start to finish. I just couldn't. An hour in, I was racing ahead, just trying to get to the end. And the end took me about 4 hours for the first level. And there's 3 more. So, yeah. Okay. As I was going to show you character creation, or character customization in what form it is. So I just picked up my second weapon out of about 8 available. And if I press C, you go to the character customization window. This is all the customization available. You can upgrade your health, your armor, and your NRG, which is energy, obviously, which you use for your special moves. I'll show some in a bit. Mighty Punch, Power Slide, Bubble Shield, and Power Sword. These are, you eventually unlock these later on in the game, in Act 2 and Act 3. Mighty Punch and Power Slide are exactly what they seem. I have never leveled up these at all. I'm going to level up a bit of armor because that appears to be the most useful to me anyway. I'm going to upgrade it twice because I had 2 upgrade points, and that's it. The quest tab shows you the quests. You don't need the quest tab. The quests are pretty simple. It's always follow the blinky light and shoot everything that moves until you get a new blinky light and then shoot everything that moves. There is no more depth to it than that. There are a couple of side quests you will get, but they too are mostly run over here, shoot stuff, pick something up, run back. And they're mostly a time sink because they're experience, and you get some experience, but it's not a lot, and you get more just from running around doing fuck all. Inventory, you have a couple of medkits, and you get 2 other items here, which is boots, as well as a decoy mechanism. That decoy mechanism would have been cool if it weren't completely bonkers. The AI is terrible. And the boots give you a bit of speed boost, which you desperately want because you want to get out of the damn levels as fast as you can. The weapons are probably the biggest part of the game, with your bionic arm being the receptacle for all these various weapons. You will unlock about 8 of them, as well as the bowling bombs, which I'll show you in a second. The Ion Maiden is your starter weapon. It has unlimited ammo, but it does run out of charges, so it has to like slow your fire rate and stuff, so you have to manage it a little bit. The Maxi Gun, because minigun is too tough, is a minigun, and it behaves exactly like a minigun. And after that, you will unlock a shotgun, a rocket launcher, a flamethrower, and all the other generic weapons you can get. The weapons are... they're done well, but they're bland. They're genuinely bland, and after about 20 minutes, you're done with them. So, I'm going to show you the powers. Let me talk to this NPC here first, and show you shopkeeping. This is shopkeeping. Buy ammo. No, I am not kidding. I wish I was. The entire shopkeeping experience is you can buy ammo. Oh yeah, you have inventory, you can buy medkits and acceleration boots. These are the boots, as well as ghost shells, which is the decoy. These cost 4,000, 2,500. I'm not even sure why they're here in the first zone, because you will never ever have this money. Nor will you have this money available, because you will need it for upgrades to your weapons. They've really thought that one through. And thankfully, the pickups and drops are so often available in the game, you don't actually need them. Ever. I've never used the NPC vendors to buy anything. Now, talking about bombs, the bowling bombs are homing bombs. You throw them and they find the nearest target. The problem is that it's never the nearest target and they generally don't home properly. Often meaning that if you throw them at a target and that target decides to run at you, it can blow you up as well. Oh, execution, there you go. This is the blade you will unlock in about 2 acts. You don't have it now, but maybe eventually. It's a bit weird to use for execution, but it's there. Now, you'll be seeing the combat a bit. You're probably wondering, well, why are you being shot at from out of screen? Like I explained, the camera is atrocious. And bland. Thankfully, you can do executions in mid-combat, which does break up a very boring fight of shooty McShooty, with at least some nice animations, though even these get repetitive because there's only about 5 or 6 of them, and that's that. The same goes for Shelly's one-liners. She has about 5 of them, and after you heard the same joke about aliens and light bulbs for the 27th time, you sort of start to wonder why she hasn't been shot by everyone, not just the aliens. There. As you see, I was shooting a mostly out of screen view. There was no reason to be in screen view because the guns just fire fine out of screen view. Why would you need to be in range? That is a silly idea. 2 more of these dudes. You have 2 special abilities. Mighty Punch and Power Slide. And you can switch between them using the F button. So yeah, I'll switch to Power Slide now. And use the left shift button to use them. There. And that way you can move between obstacles and the light. Now the game does put some obstacles in your way in terms of progression. But most of these are solved by ignoring them from start to finish. You have these flaming areas. You stand in the fire there a little bit. There's a couple of others like ledges you can fall off. But the ledges more often than not result in the enemy AI just plain jumping off them. Which is a bit weird, to say the least. Oh, and then it skips my execution, which is weird. Well, now you get teleported to a different dimension or a different planet. I don't really know. It doesn't really give an explanation to the logic behind the various things it does, except for using them as set pieces to a pretty world. Now the problem with all of these set pieces are that most of them are more suited to a fantasy setting, like Diablo or Torchlight or like even StarCraft. I could see this game being StarCraft if it was any good. It's not, so we'll keep going with that. Oh, and I sadly or thankfully forgot about this thing. Randomly during the gameplay, you will be locked into this view, and where you can't move, or you can move very slowly, where she will talk to her arm, and the arm will respond. Now, I think these are remains of voice and dialogue spoken in when the game was still a Duke Nukem game, and Shelly was the sidekick, not the arm. So I think they tried to re-record and use as much dialogue as they had previously, which is commendable from a budgeting standpoint. But because you lock the player into this zoomed in view where you don't see shit and you can't do shit except watch like a cutscene when it's not a cutscene, I don't like it at all. And the voice acting is pretty well done, except for the main protagonist that doesn't have personality, so that's a bit of a shame. All the other NPCs and characters sound like they were spoken in from a microphone across the street. Thankfully, the cutscenes do have good audio quality. Talking about the audio, that is something I can commend the game for, which is a rare thing because I've so far bashed the entire damn thing to the ground. The music is pretty good. The sound effects are pretty decent. They feel good, even though the guns themselves do turn repetitive and bland. And let me please get this damn thing out of my face. There you go. The tutorials won't remove themselves until you do exactly what it tells you to as well, which is another thing that annoys the hell out of me. I was talking about sound. So the sound design is pretty decent. I can commend them for the sound design. I can also commend them for the aesthetics of the game. It's pretty nice looking, even though it could be prettier. But I can't complain too much about it. If only the gameplay stood up to. Because right now, I've been playing this level for 20 minutes. And you have seen in the grand total of 2 of the same enemy. And you will see a third one. I have met, in 5 hours of gameplay, 3 enemy types. 4 enemy types if I count variation on the specific enemy. So if I count this variation as 2 enemies, I can count to 6 enemies total in the game. Which, you know, in 4 hours of gameplay, that isn't a lot. Especially a game designed around getting these enemies and killing them over and over and over and over again. I want to be positive about this game. I want to be happy I'm playing another 3D Realms game where I'm shooting at bad guys with cheesy one-liners. I really do. But the shooting is bland. Already the executions. This is the 4th time we've seen this execution in a row. It's boring. It's really tedious. And that's a shame. That's a real shame. Oh, this execution again. 3rd or 4th time we've seen this one. So far, I haven't felt a challenge in the game. So far, I've experienced several crashed desktops, which they've been fixing, commendably, but the game isn't stable. Even though it performs pretty well, there's several frame drops where the game goes from its usual 100-120 FPS down to 20 until you kill a specific mob type. So I'm going to assume it's a problem with that mob type specifically, but I just don't know. Another thing, these mobs that are getting executed block your view of other mobs to kindly keep on shooting at you. All in all, I just can't continue playing. I got to the first boss and I just couldn't. Again, here we go. A mob just shot from the side out of view and hurt me. I couldn't do it. Now I'm gonna show you 2 more things in the game. Both of them not exactly great, but I will show them nonetheless, and you can decide for yourself whether you like this game or not. First things first, let me show you the weapon upgrades. The weapon screen, you can go to Iron Maiden or Maxi Gun. You can unlock these 2 and they all have the same type of upgrades. The first 3 upgrades are flat damage increases. Purchase, and this one won't let me upgrade because my level is too low and I may not even have the money for it. Like I said, it's expensive to upgrade these things and you need to. Then you have a secondary fire mode for each weapon. You can pick one of them and this fire mode is then applied. And these fire modes give a little bit of variety to the game. Oh, there you go, here. Again, out of view, didn't even see him. Yay! Another execution. How nice.
And they said aliens would never land on the White House lawn.
I think that's the 4th time we've heard her say that very line in the last 15 minutes. And this should give you an indication of the game. I want to like this game. I really do. And I like the soundtrack. I really do. But the soundtrack alone is not going to make a bland shooter that is outclassed by many other games across the board. Including games that have been almost a decade out. Go play Diablo 2. Go play Torchlight 1. They're better. I'm going to skip out of this gameplay now and wrap up my review because I'm sad. I want to like this game. But a blind shooter with bland character action, with bland mechanics, bland enemies, and spotty performance. No, I'm sorry. Bombshell, you are not worth the effort or time. Okay, so Bombshell is not a good game. But are there good qualities that might make it a mediocre game? Because you might say, Temco, you've been bashing this game pretty hard for the last 15 minutes. Is there anything good about the game? And like I said, I really do like the sound design of the game. And while the shooting is mediocre and gets really bland after a couple of hours, it's pretty adequate, I guess. And that's what I would sum the game up for. Mediocre. And if it was a Mad Max game, I'd maybe get a giggle out of that. But it's not Mad Max. It's not Duke Nukem, who I expect to have these cheesy one-liners. It's Shelly, who I don't know, who has a rocket launcher called the PMS. Because, I wish I could be positive. But, like, the only thing I can commend is the sound design. And the sort of performance on PC. Everything else is bland or boring. And other games do it better. And cheaper. Because the game's asking for a price of $40? Yikes. I'd skip Bombshell. But if you like it, you can check it out on Steam. It's out today on January 29th. And, maybe you like it. Maybe I'm wrong. God, I hope I'm wrong. I don't think so. If you like this video, you can press the like button below. If you didn't like this video, press this dislike button. It's there for a reason. Remember to leave a comment and tell us your thoughts and opinions on the game and the review. And if you want to see more content from Guy Logic, from other games, hopefully good games, you can press the subscribe button down below. And we will see you right here on Guy Logic next time.